This week, I'm recapping some of the key points to understanding the history of Weimar Germany, the period in German history from late 1918 at the end of the First World War to the beginning of the Nazi era in early 1933. And there was a point during this history in 1923 where it became cheaper to paper your walls with banknotes than to buy wallpaper. It became cheaper to burn the money than to use it to buy coal. Money died. My name is Jason Collings, and I write the Alaricvontrelowmysteries set during Weimar Germany. This period in 1923, which had been gradually escalating to that point, is known as the period of hyperinflation. German money had collapsed so completely that it essentially had no value. It was worth less than the paper it was printed on. Apocryphally, people took wheelbarrows to go and buy their bread. You had to leave the moment you were paid to run to the shops to spend it before it ceased to be of value. It got to a point where the dollar had been worth about 4.2 marks to the dollar before the First World War, and by late 1923, it was 4.2 trillion marks to the dollar. This hit particularly the middle classes. The poor didn't have money, so it didn't matter so much to them, although the economic impacts of other things did. The rich had assets and they just changed in value. But the middle classes had investments. They had cash in the bank, they had pensions, they had insurance policies. And the worth of these, what they were worth, just vaporized. If you were on a fixed pension, like a lot of middle class retired people were, or on a fixed salary, as a lot of government workers, teachers, people like that were, then you went from a point where your income was perfectly adequate to the point where it was utterly worthless, sometimes over a very short space of time. A life savings, a carefully curated pension ceased to have any value whatsoever. And the counterpoint to that is the people who had taken unreasonable risks, who had borrowed huge amounts, could now pay it off really cheaply. Because if they'd borrowed, let's say, a thousand marks, you now couldn't even buy a postage stamp with 1,000 marks. And so you could pay off these loans really easily. And if you were already rich, you could leverage your assets. Let's say you owned a factory, you could mortgage that factory for a sum of money, immediately go and buy another factory with that money, and then pay off the original loan a few weeks or months later with money that was now essentially worthless. It essentially rewarded those people who took risks and were profligate and punished those who were careful. It was a period of utter transformation in how people saw the economy and how they reacted to the world around them. It became madness to be sensible, and you might as well take a risk. And this was utterly transformative for the culture in Germany, as well as to the behaviors, including political behaviors. Because when the normal standard middle of the road parties can no longer protect you, you look to the extremes because you've got nothing left to lose. Thanks very much for listening. If you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe for more.